Hey Omar, thank you so much for letting me come by. I've been wanting to hang out with you for a few weeks now and have a conversation with you. And I had some questions I wanted to ask you. I mean, the most important part when we get a new recruit is actually getting them to set up those appointments, right? Because
Yeah.
activity is everything. If they don't go out in the field and start seeing it happen. So, what would you say? How do you get the new recruits to start setting up those appointments as quickly as possible?
Well, you're absolutely right. New recruit that's not out working with you in the field is like having no recruit, right?
Right.
So what we do is, we want to work in their warm market. We want their uncles, their aunts, their moms, their dad, their brothers, their sisters, their cousins, their friends, those that love them and trust them. And so initially, we're just really asking them, ring them up and say, hey, I'm working a business. I need your help. Use the phrase, I need your help. For whatever reason, ego-wise, will not let new recruits use that phrase.
Right.
And so what I did is I just rang everybody I knew up. I said, I need your help. I'm working at this new place, and I need to line up practice presentations. So I was very honest about it. And I said, they're not practice presentations unless I do them with husband and a wife. So I would need you and your husband there
Okay.
for approximately an hour. I'm going to bring my trainer with me. And whatever questions you have, I don't want you to hesitate. I want you, to ask the questions, because the more questions you ask him, I'm learning the business. So you'll notice while you're asking him, I'm writing questions, I'm writing notes, and I'm learning.
Okay.
So would you help me out and let me have 1 hour so that I can use you guys as a practice presentation?
Got it. So you role play this with a new recruit, right?
Yeah, I role play it with them, practice it with them, because new recruits want to use their own words and screw it up, kind of,
Right.
They want to say, hey, Uncle Joe, this is Omar. Listen, I'm an investment expert now. And he's like, what are you
Right.
talking about? You're a plumber. What do you know about investments? So as long as they use the script or very close, to those words with
Yeah.
their warm market, if they like them and trust them, we should have no problem lining up the appointment. Also, it lets you know if your recruit is trustworthy right off the bat, because if their own brothers and uncles and aunts and moms and dad, cousins, and all those people won't let them line up an appointment, you got to question, like, is it worth you investing your energy in that person that's not really trustworthy?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess it lets us know if they're coachable as well, right?
Lets you know if they're coachable, because a lot of them will let you know I'm coachable, but what they really mean is they're agreeable, right?
Right.
Whenever they agree with you, then they'll do it, and when they don't agree, they'll adjust it. So using those scripts, lining those up quickly, like right after you recruit them that week, you should be out on appointments, ideally the next night, but if they listen, they're credible, coachable, trustworthy, then you work with them. And if they don't, you let them know. Listen, why are you not lining these up? Are you not credible? Do they not trust you? I even challenge them
Right.
like that, because the right individual like you, when you were new, you had no problem lining nothing up. You lined up everything. We went out on multiple appointments because you were credible. Everybody trusted you. So you used those exact
Absolutely.
scripts, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I followed the script, asked for help.
Ask
you
for
know.
help.
I think most of the time what I find is when new recruits are having a challenge setting up appointments, they're using like their own script. They're talking about the licensing and they're making it complicated. Can I come and do a financial needs analysis on you?
Right.
And they're new. So I think
They're
definitely
like, you're a plumber. No, you
Right.
can't do a financial nothing on me, right?
Right. So I guess the setting up appointment, getting them out in the field quickly goes hand in hand with getting them off to a fast start, right?
Yeah, I mean, with me, when I was new, I went out on my training appointments, and that month we went on 11 appointments and recruited 9.
Wow.
And so early on, you watched it work. I was like, wow, this thing really does work. I just watched, listened, learned, wrote questions, wrote notes, reviewed everything. When we would leave the house,
Yeah.
I would ask a million questions. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? How do you do this? And the trainer that I had would explain to me, this is what I did. This is why I did it. This is how I did it. And I was there watching it work. So
Right.
I knew it worked.
And I wanted to ask you also in reference to the licensing, because you are like the legend in Primerica now when it comes to licensing.
Oh,
the
knows
O.
codes, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. You have us. I definitely, I know your first generations are locked in on growing our codes. So in reference to licensing, how do you go about explaining to a new recruit the importance of getting them licensed, I guess, as quickly as possible, right?
Well, I always ask them one question. Why are you in Primerica? And they'll let you have some fluff answers, I want to change my life. And so when you ask them more and more, no, really, like, what do you want, like, now in the next 90 days? And the answer is usually they want more money.
Right.
That's why they join. I mean, this is not the United way, right? We want to make money. This is a business.
Right.
And so I'm very clear with them. I say, listen, if you work with us and you're not licensed, you make no money. You're going to waste your energy and your time, and you're going to waste my energy and my time. So I want you to know right up front, licensing is not like an optional thing that you work on later. We're going to be working on that while we're training you. It's going to be like rowing a boat. You got to row with your left oar and the right oar at one time so you can move ahead.
Right.
Versus rowing with one oar, you're going to
Start
be moving
going
around
in
in
circles.
a
Right.
circle, right? And so rowing the left oar is you recruiting and training with your trainer, and the right oar is the licensing process. And so we want you licensed as quickly as you can. No need to wait. But we don't want you in the class alone. We want you having recruits with you in the class, number one.
Okay.
And we want you to watch it work once. We at least want one recruit with you minimum, and that you've watched one life app close so you know the process and what we're doing, so that when you're in class and you're learning, you're like, oh, now that's logical.
Right.
Versus where a lot of reps screw up, I think, is they'll recruit an individual, cram them in the class like that weekend.
Right.
They're with no recruit in the class. They've not watched it work. They have no idea really what we do. They're in this class and they're going, what have I got myself
Right.
into? And then they're out and they vanish. And you're like, what happened to the recruit? And I let the trainer know you didn't do your job. Your job was to get them at least one recruit in class with them. Would you agree the odds are greater that if they're in class with their recruit versus they're in class with nobody they know, the odds are greater they'll earn their license, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the odds are greater that if they went out with you as a trainer and watched it work and closed a client and they know it works, they're a lot more likely to learn what they need to learn.
Right. Yeah.
And so I've always wanted to work with the odds versus work against the odds. And it's hilarious how many reps in Primerica, they're going to work against the odds. They're going to recruit everybody in the wrong market, and they're like, but I'm going to make them win. Like, no, they're not. So work with the odds always helps you.
Yeah. So definitely getting them out in the field prior to just stick them in the licensing class is
And
gonna.
a recruit on their team. And then what we've always done is the trainer arrives there the morning of the class. Now, I remember when I used to do this moons ago, right? And I didn't like waking up. I'm not a morning guy, okay? As you know,
Yeah.
right? But I wake up, I ring them up the night prior and say, hey, I'm going to meet you in the class. So now that new recruit that was probably not ready to wake up the next morning and even drive into class and just blow it off.
Right.
Now, like, oh, this Omar guy's going to wake up and meet me in the class. So now you've just increased your odds, right? So now you're there, they're there, you walk them up, the instructor, the life instructor's there, you let them know each other, right? So now your recruit knows the life instructor knows your recruit's name. You plant them in row one,
Yep.
not in the last row, because the odds are, remember, increase your odds, right? the odds are if they're in row one, they're not screwing around, they're listening, right?
They're more engaged.
They're more engaged in it. And their recruit that you recruited is there with them in row one. So you wake up, you drive there, you meet them there. They know the instructor now. The next day, you meet them at lunch. Now, when you leave, all the other recruits there, they're going, man, Evelyn, your trainer, he's awesome. He welcomed you here. He was with you at lunch. And you know what they're all wondering? Where's their trainer at? Right? Who has the greatest odds now of licensing that rep? You or the trainer that never woke up and drove into the class and wasn't there with them at lunch, growing that relationship? If you grow that relationship, you did the work with them initially. So you went out with them, you recruited one with them, you closed a life app, a rollover, an F&A.
Yes.
They watched it work. You enrolled the recruit that you recruited under them with them in the class. You arrived in the morning early to greet them. You planted them in row one. You were there the next class. You had lunch with them. All that is hours of growing relationships, and it's work on our end. But
It'll be worth it.
Yeah. But it's worth it when you're licensing, and then you hope that your trainers watch what you do. That new recruit watched what you did, and you trained them on this is what you do with your new recruits. And over a while, now it's not you there greeting every new recruit in the life class. It's all the trainers who are recruiting, and they're there in the morning greeting their guys and like having lunch with their guys, and they're out handling the one-on-one prior to the class with their guys. And then over time, you create this recruiting and licensing machine where it grows and grows. And I can remember years ago when we licensed one recruit in a month, it was like, whoa, I got one, right? Now we license a couple hundred a month. I think last month we did almost 300 licensed reps, newly licensed reps in the month.
That's amazing. I love it because we're here talking and you've been doing the same exact thing for years. And that's where we learn to do it from you. But it's always a good reminder, which is why I'm going over these things with you. So
yeah, let me end with this, is that in all the years working here, I've never changed. What do you mean you never change? You have to change if you want to grow, not if what you do works.
Right.
If what you do works, and these are all the Art Williams lessons, recruit a guy, his closest, friend, warm market, have him in the class, grow those relationships, increase your odds. It's all Art Williams, and that's why I'm glad that we're growing our hierarchy.
Absolutely.
The Art Williams way.
We just got to grow the numbers and keep growing them, right?
That's right.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
It was a blast.
Yeah, it was.